Welcome to Morrison Madness podcast number 2 this evening, or whenever you're listening to this, I guess. So in the first podcast, we talked a little bit about Don getting the virus and got partway into the story of the first few days, right? So we kind of left off on Sunday morning, I believe, with the individual.
Kind of the middle of my hospital stay.
Right, the middle of your hospital stay. So that Sunday morning, I had
gotten a call from one of the venues that we had a show at, asking about, why I had told everybody that I had the Rona.
The Rona, and they would call it that.
Yeah,
that's the
and
funny
they
thing.
shut the place down. And I explained to him that I wasn't there last night. My son was there.
Yep.
I never said that.
Yep.
Nobody told my son that, so I don't know where you're getting that information. I did go to the ER. I am sick. They did put me in quarantine.
Right.
I was tested. I don't have any results back. As soon as I get them, I'll share them with you.
Right.
He calmed down a little bit once he realized that I was in the hospital in quarantine.
Right.
And then...
Well, and realizing that you weren't there.
Right.
It wasn't a matter that you got sick while you were there and went straight to the ER. That's not what happened.
Right.
And so, but that was earlier Sunday morning. I feel like that started at 9-10 o'clock Sunday morning.
Don't know. Don't recall. Because
you called me earlier on Sunday morning to let me, and you told me at that point that was happening, and
so while there are some things that are crystal clear about what happened, there's a lot, and not just those first few days, but that whole month, and then even since then, the brain fog from having COVID is so real and so severe. It's annoying. Words that I should know by rote sometimes just escape me, and it's infuriating. So,
and that'll be probably a whole nother podcast, because it'll take a while to even get through the rest of the beginning few days. So of you getting sick. And so you're in the hospital, and you had called and told me that they had called and said that. Meanwhile, I'm realizing that, you're going to be potentially in the hospital, so I'm calling people that work for us saying, hey, I'm probably going to need your help to run our shows Monday night, Tuesday night, who knows how long, because who knows how long you're going to be in the hospital, things that way. And so I was calling people earlier in the day at that point, and then I feel like it was maybe sometime between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. on Sunday. You called and said, I'm kind of bored, I'm feeling better, I'd like to put together playlists, because that's what you do, is constantly play the music. And so you wanted me to bring one of your laptops so you could build some playlists.
Well, and I needed something to relieve the stress, because in my mind, you listen to the news and you read the stuff online from different news articles, right? And people are going on ventilators, and people are dying, and they're in the hospital for 7, 8, 10 days, 2 weeks, a month. It's the most god-awful thing ever.
Because to clarify, we're in Iowa, so we had been hearing the stories of New York and California, and people had been getting sick for months. I believe at this.
Well, I don't know about months. Yeah, a month maybe.
A month by this point.
But in my brain,
in Iowa really, they weren't talking about anybody in Iowa being sick yet at this point.
In my brain, I didn't have any of the symptoms.
Right.
I didn't have. Well, I guess at that point I had a cough, but prior to that I hadn't had a cough.
Correct.
I never had a fever.
Correct.
That I know of, and then all I can think of is, oh my God, these medical bills are going to be insane.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I need something to keep me occupied. I have my Kindle, and trying to read the Kindle is just not enough. I got to have something else to do.
Right.
So I'm thinking, I'll have LaShelle bring stuff for me to work on.
Right.
And then.
And about 15 minutes after you called and said, I got to have stuff to work on, I'm going stir crazy. You called again and said, you can't bring me the stuff. The doctor just came in and told me that I'm positive, I have the coronavirus, I'm in quarantine, you can't come see me, I don't know what to do. And I went, oh. And then I said, so what does that mean? And he goes, well, that right after the doctor left, I believe.
No, I said that the Department of Public Health is going to call me.
Okay.
They hadn't yet.
Okay.
And I said, once they call me, then I'll know what to do.
Right. And so then I feel like that was another half an hour.
But so this
wait.
poor doctor
right.
comes in.
Yes.
Right? And I'm sitting on the edge of the bed. I have my back to the door. And I don't know why we're set up this way. I just remember everything in perfect detail and almost like slow motion.
Well, it was scary, right? I'm sure.
And so he's all decked out in his hazmat suit and whatever, and he's got his back to the window, you know, and he's talking to me, and he's asking me how I feel and how I'm doing. Right. And we're about 4 feet apart, and he says, well, so your test results came back. I said, okay. And he said, so I have some bad news. Your tests were positive. You have the virus. And he's all choked up. I mean, he's almost in tears, you know?
Right.
And all I can think of is, you know, this is how the doctor felt when he told my dad he had cancer. I mean, you know, that's what it seemed like. And this doctor was young. I'm sure this doctor isn't a doctor that gives somebody a terminal illness diagnosis ever, right? Because he's internal medicine. And so I didn't know what to say. I just sat there and I mean, a long time went by. It seemed like 5 minutes. I'm sure it was only like 20, 30 seconds, but it seemed like a long time. And he goes, are you okay? And not knowing what to say to that, I said...
In the typical Morrison madness fashion.
I said, I guess not. I have the virus. and he just kind of stood there. And I guess I laughed a little bit. And I said, well, man, I don't really know what that means. And he goes, well... I don't really know what it means either, but I don't think that your symptoms are so severe that it's anything that we need to panic about. But we are going to have to move you to the ICU, and we did have to contact, you know, the Department of Public Health, and they're going to be contacting you. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You know, they probably want to try and figure out where I got it, you know, and they're probably trying to keep statistical data on how many people have it and you know how many people in what areas have it and all of that kind of stuff. That makes sense to me. Right. So yeah, then I called you back and I told you.
Don't come.
And I remember you saying, oh my God, honey, are you okay? And I said, I think I told you the same thing.
You did. You were like, evidently not, I have the virus. I said, I realize that, but are you okay? Like, are you processing this okay? How are you feeling mentally? You know what?
I don't think I had processed it. I don't know how you process something like that.
Yeah, I don't think you had either. Yeah, it was definitely interesting.
And again, I'm still on an IV. I feel like they're still giving me, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I didn't really question everything that they were giving me because I felt like whatever they were giving me was making me feel better. So
why question it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they could have been giving me strychnine and cyanide for all I know. It was working.
Right.
So, but I do feel like they were still giving me some morphine, which was helping me, my breathing be relaxed and the coughing not be as severe.
Right.
And so the Department of Public Health for Iowa, the State Department of Public Health called me. And
that was like a half an hour or so after the doctor told you.
And they explained the protocols to me, and they said, so you need to contact everybody that you've been in contact with in the last 2 weeks. And I said, well, that's going to be a little difficult. And they said, why? And I said, because I'm a DJ. And I remember her saying, so like on the radio? And I said, no, so like at weddings and at bars every night of the week. Different bars. I don't know those people. I said there might be a handful of people at each place that I know, that I talk to.
Right.
I may not even know how to get a hold of some of those people.
Right.
I said, I can contact the venues. I said, but that's going to be the best I can do. Right. And then she said, well, what about people that you have close contact with? And so that particular time frame, really the only people that I had close contact with was our two sons, Devin and Dolan, and then you.
Right.
And so...
But then they did say they wanted us to contact the venues and
yes.
let the venues know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I needed to contact you and Devin and Dolan and basically put you guys in quarantine.
Right, and we were told, don't go anywhere. Forever.
And let me tell you, if you have ever told an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old, he just turned 22, that they cannot go anywhere, that they are grounded for 2 weeks. I mean, it's one thing to ground a 13-year-old, but an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old
did not go over
who don't live in your house,
no.
that they are grounded for 2 weeks.
It did not go over well. Are you sure that we can't just go? Why can't we just go here? It's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal. You can't go. And again, we're in Iowa where this isn't really real to anybody yet. You know?
Oh, it was real on Monday when the Department of Public Health emailed out those forms saying if you go anywhere, you'll be arrested.
But they hadn't seen that yet on Sunday. And so they were like, but we can go over to a friend's house. We're like, no, you can't go over to a friend's house. You can't go anywhere. No, they can't come over to your house. No, that's not possible. So then you called me and you called the boys. But then you started calling the venues, and yet you weren't really with it either.
Yeah, I don't know if I was in a little bit of shock or if it was the morphine. Or if I still was that exhausted from the virus.
And you still didn't feel good. I mean, even though you felt way better than Saturday, you were no longer, as I would say, knocking on death's door, because that's literally what you looked like on Saturday. You still were not well on Sunday. Like, you could tell it was the worst sickness
other than calling the venue in Cedar Rapids, I don't remember which other venues I actually called.
Right. And so then... I didn't realize that you were calling the venues because when you called me, you were like, I just have to let you and the boys know and whoever else family-wise that we had been in close contact with in the last 2 weeks. And then you told me that I was supposed to let people know if I'd been... No, I didn't have to let anybody know. No. If I've been in contact with people, I didn't have to let anybody know. And so then I think I was like, oh, okay, well, call the boys and then call me back. And so then...
Oh... And the best was, though, because at the same time that I called you and the boys, I thought, well, I should call Grace. Even though I haven't been around Grace, I should call Grace.
She's your daughter.
Right, and she's my youngest. I thought I should call Grace and let Grace know. So I call Grace and I tell Grace, and this is my daughter's response.
And how old is your daughter?
She's at the time she's 15.
Right.
And she goes, bullshit, good one, Dad. Nice try.
She so did not believe it at all.
I'm like, Grace... I'm not kidding. I'm in the hospital. So I had to take a selfie of me in the hospital and send it to my daughter. And she's...
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
And she's in the drive-thru with her friends at McDonald's.
Oh,
no. And then she calls me back and she's like, oh my God, you're really in the hospital and you have the virus. I'm like, Grace, please don't broadcast this to everybody. I don't need everybody to know.
Right.
You know, we don't want to cause a public...
We need to let people know...
Right.
Slowly and
and family members first.
Right, we need to control it.
I don't want this all over social media. Right. Please don't be posting this to your Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever.
Right.
Twitterverse doesn't give two shits that Don has the virus.
Not at this point, right. But so then you had called, I think you called me first, and then you called all your kids. And so then I didn't realize that you were going to start calling the venues. So probably
because I forgot to tell you that I was supposed to.
So then I was waiting for you to call me back after you talked to the kids because I figured it would take a while for the kids to process. They'll have questions, what have you. I didn't want to rush that. So I'm waiting, and then I start getting phone calls from the venues. And the venues are like, what is going on? Don called us and told us that he has the virus. And I said, yes. Well, when did he get the virus? Okay, hold up. This is new for everybody. He literally started feeling really crappy late Friday night. We took him to the ER on Saturday. He just got the results back. I was just going to call you in a few minutes. I didn't realize Don was calling people. Well, we're not really sure what's going on because the way Don was talking about it doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, well, that doesn't surprise me because he's sick with the virus. So then she calls me in typical wife fashion, right? And she's like, stop calling people, dude. You don't call anybody else. Who have you talked to? Like, who did you call? Stop calling people other than your kids, your family, your parents, whatever. Stop calling other people. Let me deal with it. I'm at least coherent. and I can tell them the story. Because you don't even know what's happened in the last 2 days. You're completely out of it.
This is true. And in typical chagrined husband, I'm like, okay, honey, I'm sorry. I apologize. I will put the phone down. I'm putting the phone down now.
I won't call anybody more. Yes, you definitely, I kind of chewed your butt. But, so then I'm spending Sunday calling the venues and explaining things. And most of the venues...
Oh, and you had to email the couple from the wedding that we had done the week before.
Yes. Yeah, because they were on their honeymoon.
Florida.
Yeah, they were on their honeymoon. And so I had to email, I think I text messaged her. Like I emailed her and then I texted her saying, I sent you an urgent email, you need to check it. And she sent back and said, I said, can you get to email? I sent you an urgent message, otherwise give me a call. And so she messaged back and she said, I read the email. I'm so sorry to hear that Donna's sick. I will let everybody know. We're not upset with you. We hope you're okay. She was amazing. Absolutely amazing. That was also a concern because the guests that were at her wedding
were teachers, firemen, and police officers from our community, and we don't have that big of a community. Less than 100,000 people in our all the combined suburbs and everything. Right. So the police force and fire department community is not that big, and neither is the teacher community.
Right. And I don't think, ultimately, looking back, that the Department of Public Health truly understood how we did business. No. Because they kept telling me, well, you only need to let the venue know, because since you're in your DJ booth, you really wouldn't have come in contact with people. And the way our company is set up is that we have a table, and we're out in the public half the time or more.
Well, you are all of the time. Yes. You're out walking around talking to the crowd, handing out slips of paper and pens and...
Yes, well, and I talk into a microphone, and then a lot of the times the people will take the microphone and talk into it as well. Like yes. we joke around with our crowd.
And when we're done with our show, we go and visit people. I mean, we've become friends with a lot of the people in the different groups.
Correct. And even like with our weddings, we become friends with the brides and the grooms, and so we're giving them hugs, and we're not a standoff company.
No, it's these events are very personal to us, and we make when we do somebody's wedding, we make the day all about them. So we want to get to know them so that we can personalize it.
Right. Our tagline for Star Entertainment's company is "It's your time to shine," which we truly live and mean by that whatever event that we're doing, even though we're the DJ company and we're kind of running stuff, it's not about us.
No.
It's about the customer, how they want that day to go. And so we really do make it about them. And so to be able to do that, we have to get to know them, and we become friends with them over time. And so, so then I kept trying to explain that we're not in a DJ booth at these locations. We're around the crowd, and the crowd changes with every location and every week. On top of it, there are some regulars that we know, but there's lots of random people that could be around. But anyway.
But if any of you out there can imagine how contacting a bar works, right? Especially on a Sunday afternoon. Do you think the owner's there on Sunday afternoon? No. So you're getting one of the regular you're not even getting a manager. You're getting the bartender that's in charge that late afternoon, evening, right? And at some bars, they may or may not have been drinking. And then, because they know that everybody in the bar knows us, as soon as they get off the phone, they are immediately like, so that was Don and LaShelle. Don's got the virus.
Yep, Don's got the Rona. And I actually, as I was hanging up from one of the locations that I contacted, I heard the bartender announce that and I was like, oh no. I mean, you just knew that it was going to spread like wildfire. I mean, just the news in general. And within 15 minutes to a half an hour, the phone calls started from the news media.
Oh, yes. I had to turn... So they went and got security, decked me up in a hazmat suit, and then had security clear the hallways to escort me from one wing of the hospital over to the other wing of the hospital where the ICU was. And as the main security guy, because there was a couple of them, as the main security guy comes up, and he's all dressed up in a hazmat suit, he's like, hey, Don, how's it going? And I'm like... and he goes...
You're all covered, and we're not used to seeing people
and he goes, it's me, Ken. You probably don't recognize me. And I'm like, I had no idea. Hi, Ken. Yeah, I mean, all I could see is his eyes.
Right. And some background on Ken and how we know Ken is actually Ken's parents and Ken's father and my father went to college together. And so then I had...
They were at each other's weddings.
Yeah, they were groomsmen at each other's weddings. Yes, yeah. And so then I didn't really know Ken until I came to college, and Ken was working here at the college, and I got to know him because he was working security there and stuff that way.
So they get me into the ICU, and I will say, and again, I don't think we've mentioned this yet, but so the town we live in is Iowa City.
Yeah.
The University of Iowa. Our sports team are the Hawkeyes. We're part of the Big Ten. I will say, and I have been to hospitals in other states, the care that I received at the University of Iowa hospitals for this above and beyond. I have never been treated so kindly and so compassionately and with such caring. I mean, it was incredible. There wasn't a single staff member, not a nurse, not a janitor person, not somebody that didn't come by and if I was awake, check on me through because it's like a sliding glass door to a deck.
Right.
Big thing that they have locked, and they have to go through a separate room that's a negative flow room and be decontaminated in and out. Right. And everybody there was amazing. In fact, I asked one nurse if I gave her my credit card, would she go get me some decent coffee, because the coffee that comes with breakfast from the cafeteria was just it was worse than military coffee. and she wouldn't take my credit card, but an hour later she came back with 2 coffees that were made just the way I like them. Perfect amount of cream, 3 Splendas. I mean, she was an angel. I'm telling you, me without coffee makes for a rough day. Like, I'm not one of those people that's mean without their coffee, but I just don't have as good a day if I don't get to have my coffee.
It's a rough day for you, not for people around you.
Right. And so, I mean, everything they did, they went above and beyond. They were constantly making sure that I was comfortable and that I was okay. And so I have nothing but props to say about my entire experience from the doctor. I mean, apparently that one nurse in the ER when they were checking me in wasn't the nicest, but I don't remember that, so I don't care.
No, and I honestly feel like he didn't realize
that I was sick.
That you were sick.
Right.
I think he thought that you were drunk. And again, it was a Saturday afternoon, so if you'd been out doing something all day or whatever, I could see where he would have that.
Oh, and you get a lot of that in college town.
Absolutely. So I don't really judge him for that. Unfortunately, that's kind of what
everybody
happened,
along the way from when I was coherent, the care was exemplary.
Yes.
So
absolutely. So
and then so the rest of that night, constant phone calls, constant emails, constant text messages, every local news station, local radio, local newspaper, and then the next morning the barrage started with state people and then nation people from USA Today. I can't remember, there was a couple other national news outlets that and as soon as they said that they were, I just would hang up the phone. Right? I didn't even say no comment. I did nothing. I would answer the phone, start entertaining, and then I would just hang up the phone.
And to clarify, because we are a small company and it's primarily the 2 of us, we have some people that help out, but it's primarily the 2 of us, our cell phones are our company numbers. And so
if my mom's calling, it's my cell phone.
Yeah, it's our business line is the same thing. And so you felt like you couldn't not answer the phone because you didn't know if it was the Department of Public Health trying to tell you something.
Well, or I didn't know if it was a family member that I don't have them saved in my phone, or a friend or something, Right. I mean, outside of my kids, I ended up calling my mom and telling her, and I called my sister. I didn't really call a bunch of other people.
Right.
I think I had 3 other friends that I called and let know.
Right.
And that was about it.
Yeah. So,
sorry, too much talking.
It's okay. But so then... yes, the barrage of phone calls. That's pretty much all that got done Sunday.
Oh, I turned my phone off.
Afternoon, evening.
Monday morning, I turned my phone off.
Yes, and Monday morning, you turned the phone off, and then you turned it on to call me to say you were going to get released, which was happy news. During that time, while you were in the hospital, the Department of Public Health called me, and all the news medias were calling me as well. So I was pretty much doing the same thing. I didn't say no comment. I just didn't really answer the phone unless it was the Department of Public Health. And so, and not only the phone calls, but text messages, Facebook messages. I mean, I get the news media, this was news, they wanted the information, but it was
so the timeline really was me starting to feel bad on Friday, not really having any symptoms that I know of or can recall up to that point,
other than the headaches,
going way downhill really quickly on Friday night, going to the hospital at whatever time on Saturday, being in the ER 6 to 8 hours before they transferred me to a negative flow room.
Yeah.
Right? And then I don't think I was even in that negative flow room for 18 hours.
Yeah.
There's no way it was 24 hours. And then they moved me to the ICU, and I was only in the ICU for less than 24 hours. And they said, well, they gave me the choice. You know, you can stay in the hospital. If you're feeling bad, you can stay in the hospital if you have concerns. Or if you're feeling up to it, we feel like you're getting enough oxygen.
You're not having to be on a ventilator.
You don't have a fever. You don't need a ventilator. We can send you home. We can give you medicine for your cough. We'll have you set up with a telephone appointment with your doctor every day to check in. And if you start getting worse, you know, your wife can bring you right back in immediately.
Especially since we live right in Iowa City, and so it's easy to get to the hospital. We're not having to travel far.
And again, in my mind, I'm still thinking, you know, how much is this going to cost? I'm better off going home.
Right.
You know, and to be honest, it'd be more comfortable at home. I mean,
yes.
you know, being in the hospital again, while they were great, it's not comfortable. They had me hooked up to 2 or 3 different. I mean, I have an IV in one arm, and I don't know what was on the other arm, and then
blood pressure cuffs and the
just
wires everywhere.
Oh
just
my God.
a typical
and
hospital.
all the beeping and tooting.
And they've got to check you every 2 hours, so you're not
that's
really
right.
getting sleep.
They wake you up to give you a sleeping pill, and I mean, you can only eat so much Jell-O, but
yeah, that's true. So yeah, it's usually you get better rest when you're at home anyway, and that was what they recommended, right? If you have the virus, rest. That's the main thing. And so then they decided they were going to send you home on Monday afternoon. And so I had talked to the Department of Public Health, and they said that, and the hospital, and they were going to send you home. And I said, okay. And I said, so then what does that mean for us? Like, what do we need to do? And they said, well, you're going to have to quarantine from him. And I said, in our house? And they said, yes. And I said, and how do you plan on us doing that? And they were like, well, do you have more than one bathroom? And I said, yes, we have more than one bathroom. We have more than one bedroom, but there's only one kitchen and one living room. And I'm assuming he's going to want to hang out in the living room and watch TV part of the time because he's not sleeping 24 hours a day.
Well, and I'm not skinny. I do like to eat.
Yeah. And not only that, but you like to cook. That's a stress relief for you. And I'm thinking the moment you start feeling better, in any shape or form, you're going to be up, even if it's just putting a frozen pizza in the oven, you're going to want to do it. You don't like to lay down and lay still, no matter how sick you are. So I'm thinking, so then I get to lock myself in a room for 2 weeks and not leave? That's not really going to work, because I still have work that I have to do. I work from home, but I still have to get that stuff done, and I'm going to need to be able to get to the kitchen and eat and get drinks and whatever. The whole idea of quarantining away from somebody in your house at the time seems ridiculous to me. I wonder if now maybe it wouldn't have been a good idea, but I'm not really sure how well we could have pulled it off. It's just not us.
No, well. I think the fact that you got the virus 5 days later is a good thing, because if you hadn't, then we'd still be worried about you getting it.
Yes.
Well, and I don't want people to think that we're not concerned about getting it again.
Right.
But we're less concerned because we both still have antibodies.
Yes.
Mine are still really high. Up until just this month, I was donating platelets, plasma to the hospital for other patients because my antibodies were so high.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I forgot what I was going to say.
That's all right. I feel like it's a good place to stop, and we'll wrap up. And
so yeah, probably.
We'll see you guys next time.